live.
Live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Iron Ceremony podcast. My name is John, and as always, I'm joined by Shane. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we can say it's evening. Good evening.
Yeah, it is. Oh, all right. How have you been, and how much hobbying have you done?
So let's see. How have been well, been well. Hobbying. So I suppose recap wise, we had a game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I suppose we can talk about that. That was a bit of hobbying. Um, then you had a game on Wednesday, and I suppose the only hobbying there was messaging your opponent to find out how he got on. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that as well. And then then I didn't do anything other than put together a list for our game on Tuesday. So our next game on Tuesday. So I've got a list, put it together, and then I realised because I was like, okay, and then because I'll come and play at yours and see your new foldable terrain, which I'm
Yeah.
very much looking forward to. I then realised that I had to magnetize some of the bases of some of the models because they're not all fully painted, and I thought give me an opportunity to at least put a primer on some of the models as well. So now that's what I've been doing today. So I did a bit of spray can priming on some jump pack intercessors, and then a bit of magnetizing bases for some infiltrators, scouts, jump pack intercessors, and the Iron Priest because they all didn't have magnets on their bases. So I've been doing all of those so that they can go in the case for the journey over to yours for Tuesday.
Very nice.
Yes.
Oh,
So
well,
what
that's
about
good.
yourself?
Well, I was going to say before I talk about mine, we should address the elephant in the room for anyone who's joined just for an update on Glenn's hobby update. Coward hasn't turned up, so we don't know what he's done.
Well, yeah. Are any of the grey knights that are definitely grey? Have any of them gone green?
Yeah,
We won't know. We won't
yeah.
know.
You'll have to come back next week, I'm afraid.
We have had a request in the chat, funnily enough,
Yeah,
to tell us more about the game on Wednesday. So
yeah.
we might have to address that at some
I
point.
should say, get out of the chat and get on the stream, and you can talk about it because I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I do have questions. So
I
unfortunately,
have questions. I don't know what happened. Oh, well,
um,
yeah. I mean, yeah, it was all.
so so other than the two games you've had,
Yeah.
what other hobbying have you done?
So I very, very nearly finished these five Space Marines that have been on my desk.
Very nice.
I just need to tidy up this champion. I don't know. You can see him in that.
Yeah, yeah, just about.
Need to tidy him up, and then it'll just be added a bit more goo here and there, and then need base in, and that's them done. And then my last unpainted models will get done soon.
Ah, very nice.
We're nearly there, and that is the Death Guard. I have toyed with a defiler in and out of my basket, and
Okay.
Wazdak has been in and out of the basket as well as the new Orc combat box with the helicopters. But I haven't committed. I haven't bought them yet. They're still sat there waiting for me to give in or have one too many beers.
So yeah, well, I was going to say, well, we can come back to the orcs and we can come
Mm-hmm.
back to the defiler because both are going to feature in some of the discussion we have. So
Yeah.
why don't we, before we get to, obviously chat very heavily favouring talking about the game on Wednesday, um, that's fine. We know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, shall we instead first talk about the game on Tuesday?
Let's do that. That was yeah.
Start there.
Let's do
Start
that
there.
one.
So
Let's
obviously we're now fully into Year of the Wolves. Like fully second game out for the Space Wolves. And second yeah, was it second defeat? It is second defeat. Yes.
yeah.
So the Space Wolves have now come out twice, but they have been defeated both times. So first time was the 81-88, very close. This one was 80-62 to the Death Guard. This was your Virulent Vectorum list versus my still Saga of the Beast Slayer. So still
Yeah.
sticking with that saga. Um, and we what was the what's the one we had again? It wasn't it was Linchpin. So it's a nice
Yeah.
easy,
So nice and easy.
should be relatively easy from a primary point of view, so nothing too much to think about it. I can't remember what the deployment was. It was also pretty simple, wasn't it? It was
It was the Dawn of War long
yeah,
ways.
that was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You went first. So always
Well, I'll talk about the list, shall I?
I
Because
was going to
obviously
say
last time you was lamenting Mortarian's deadly demise.
yes, that was a real stickler.
So, and I teased you with bringing a Defiler as well, which I did. And then I
Yes,
also threw in a Land Raider because all three of those have deadly demise D6. And I wanted to use the strat. The only reason I went back to the Virulent Vectorum was specifically for the All Explode strat. And
yes.
we didn't use it once.
It never came up,
It
and
never came up.
nothing did actually deadly demise,
No,
despite the fact that was it did yeah, no, because I took down all three, didn't I? I did kill the Land Raider, I did
yeah.
kill the Defiler, and I did kill Morty, but none of them rolled a natural six, and even when you
I,
could have used the strat for whatever reason, it wasn't the appropriate time to be
I think
using it.
all three times it would have done me more harm than you. So it was
Yeah.
just wasn't worth the risk.
Yes. So you had obviously three big beasties
Yeah.
lurking around wherever to cause problems. And then what else was in the list?
What else did we have? So we had I have to find it now. We had the so Lord of Contagion. One was leading three Death Shroud. They started off in reserves, and the other one was leading six Death Shroud, who started off in the Land Raider.
Yeah.
So that was good. We had a Tallyman doing his usual job. Two sets of Chaos Spawn. Um, a bloke drone with a heavy blight launcher, and one squad of Poxwalkers. So quite a small list, but a very asset expensive list.
Yes. Yeah, 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 absolutely. So stuff that you'd look at and you might look at the list and be like, is there enough utility in it to be doing
Hmm.
secondaries? Is there enough utility in it to get stuff done? Like that would always be the concern when you're thinking about the potential of that list. Um, we'll come on to it in terms of how we but didn't necessarily need to worry about it. From my point of view, my list, so Saga of the Beast Slayer, um, I kind of not rushed the list a little bit because originally I'd intended to drop the number of Wolfguard Terminators down, but then didn't get the chance to do it. So I had Aryak leading a squad of 10. So that's always a heavy investment unit because it's just lots of points. It's
Hmm.
like 400, nearly 500 points, well, 450-ish points of Space Wolf. Um, and they kind of you got to try and use them the right way, and unfortunately they can be quite difficult to use. But anyway, we had those guys. We had Bjorn the Fell-Handed, always fun to bring along. We also I also bought an Iron Priest, so I had an Iron Priest along just because it's you come into it the rest of the list, but where I had a few dreadnoughts and a few tanks, it's always nice to have him there to give a few wounds back, but
Hmm.
also to give one of them rapid fire, because that's quite nasty. And then, as always, Ragnar Blackmane for leading up a squad of Blood Claws, which I did indeed have. So I had 10 Blood Claws, five-man squad of Intercessors for the sticky objectives in the backfield, and then the usual sort of stuff for Dreads. So a Ballistus, a Redemptor, and then a Predator Annihilator. So that was all my anti-tank. Then an Eradicator squad, which is also anti-tank, but in this game was just anti-defiler and then died. Fenrisian Wolves just to get in the way. Infiltrators to do the deep strike bubble, which didn't really come up this time round. Scouts for uppy downy. Thunderwolf cavalry mainly for holding an objective for a turn or two, which is pretty much what they did. And then, as I said, the aforementioned 10 squad of Wolfguard Terminators. Um, so not necessarily the most optimal list. It's a bit of everything, and it doesn't have much of the new stuff, as it were. Like the Logan Grimner's not in there yet because he's not painted.
Mhm.
I'm not really taking any Wolf Priests at this point. There's no Wolf Guard. What's it called? Head Takers. Um, but maybe they'll be in the next game. Who knows?
Mhm.
Um, but not too bad. And I thought with Linchpin, we should we should be all right. Anyway, we rolled off. You went first,
Yes.
and straight out the gate really started scoring as Death Guard tend to do, scoring very nicely on the objective game. And of course, this one was the one you get sticky objectives in this one as well,
Yeah,
don't you?
put sticky
Yeah.
objectives on this one. Yeah, so we
So
was quite lucky because we could scout the spawn out, and we had poxwalkers. Did we have poxwalkers? I'm sure, but they were out and about. Yeah, they were near the middle, weren't they?
yeah,
Uh,
you had one squad of Poxwalkers that were just in the yeah, so they were in spent a lot of the game just in the scenery just behind the central objective
yeah.
and then lurked out onto it in the second turn, I think.
Hmm. No prisoners isn't a very good one to get first turn, but when
Yeah.
you're aggressively throwing your expensive units up and it causes you to pop disgusting eradicators onto the roof, that's how we managed to do that, wasn't it? Because
Because you got no prisoners. It wasn't the Eradicators because you only killed one of them. Um,
I think I got it in your turn.
oh yes. Yeah. So you held on to it and then you got
Yeah,
it. That's exactly what you did. It was the
yeah.
Eradicators. Yeah, that was exactly it.
Because we managed to kill one, I want to say with an Overwatch.
You did. There was one with an Overwatch
Yeah,
that was in no, yeah, that would have been yeah, one with the Overwatch,
yeah.
and then
Then they came back because I think you, when I moved, you reactive moved
so they what they
that
did
way.
was they because what did I do with them? So I moved. I don't think yeah. So they moved up.
Yeah,
They were there to get to do the shooting. So they moved up. You Overwatched them,
yeah,
killed one.
yeah.
Then then it was obviously to yeah because you went first. So
I think we're right. So I think they came up behind the wall because you had stuff there that fell back. They came and I did the Defiler Overwatched, and with all of its new guns, I only managed to kill one Eradicator,
yeah,
and then
that was my
yeah, and then
turn
yours, and
against
then you shot them, and I used Morty's ability to use the Defiler to shoot them, and that's how I
that was
killed
it.
them. And then the Defiler sat there on 2 wounds until you popped it on your next go. I think that was it, or you popped it
I
with
thought I popped it in one
popped
go.
it with a dread.
I I thought it was the Eradicators that got him because I rolled the 12 on damage.
Oh, how did I kill him then? Maybe it was
That's
Morty that killed
I think it
him.
might have been Multi that killed
Oh
them.
god, that Defiler did nothing there.
No, he didn't. That was
I thought
yeah,
he
it
at
was
least did that.
no, he did well, no, he did pop one in Overwatch.
Mm,
That definitely did
yeah.
happen. And
Okay. That
then
makes more
they
sense.
shot,
Yeah.
got all the damage, and killed him,
Yeah.
which is why you then didn't deadly demise him because he was
Yeah.
right next to Multi, and then Multi did his thing and
Yeah.
killed him. So that on that, yeah. So you got no prisoners, which you kept until my turn, and then managed to score it. And then you also got extend battle lines, which you got because both of your spawn had come out,
Yeah.
and so you had plenty of board control.
Yeah.
No worries at all. So a good 6 points on your first turn. My first turn, I got engage on all fronts, which is
Hmm.
like not great first turn. Sabotage, which I burnt, and secure no man's land. So secure, I was able to get for 2 points. So turn one, you don't. I wasn't too worried about it, but like went in slightly behind. But because you were already on two objectives,
Hmm.
I think it was two. You scored 8 on the primary in then turn two,
Yeah.
drew cleanse, and then assassination, which you burnt,
Yeah.
and then sabotage.
which was handy with the spawn that stayed off to one side, and they did that. And I think the poxwalkers popped out and cleansed the middle one.
They did. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that was it.
so that was
Exactly.
quite easy.
And then and at this point, the board was not like it wasn't too because it was only really the Eradicators that had come out and done some stuff. I think Morty had at this point had engaged the Thunderwolves, which were on one of the sort of if
You
you were
go over to
looking to
my left flank, yeah,
yeah. So they popped out and they were engaged with Morty. So I think that was that. And then because again you didn't have a lot of units, your Death Shroud didn't come in turn two,
I
did
didn't
they?
drop the Death Shroud in, and the Land Raider you kept because you had
That was
Ragnar
it.
running away. So on your first turn, they moved back towards your side of the board,
Yeah.
and on your second turn, they went behind your terrain.
Yeah.
So my Land Raider full of Terminators was just steaming along, looking at
Kept,
freezing
kept
walls.
yeah, kept trying to chase it down. And
Yeah,
the Blood Claws were running away. The infiltrators were running into the corner.
yeah,
And the Fenrisian wolves were nobly running in front of traffic to try
yeah.
and slow you down. So that was that anyway.
That
So
was
you had a pretty good turn two. Like
yeah,
got your secondaries, got good primary. Went into my turn two. I only had one then on the primary, so I only scored three.
yeah.
Just my home objective. I then also drew a tempting target and display of might. This is the one that really I think killed me quite not killed me, but really
That hurt.
it caused a real slowdown of momentum because in that turn, effectively my turn two only scored three because I couldn't get the tempting target, which was I think that was the one that you had on the right flank with the spawn on that the Land Raider had just come round. So
Yeah,
there was nothing there that was going to get it. And display of might, we actually drew. So
yeah.
I managed to get it to 6 all in the middle, and as a theme of this particular battle, um, the Space Wolves found it really hard to actually finish stuff off. So it was quite killy, but it wasn't killy enough. Like I was
No,
not getting rid of stuff. And as I said, if with Warhammer, if you can roll fours, then you're more than likely to win the game. And certainly from a saving point of view, particularly in this turn and turn three, I think your in-run saves were doing the job
yeah.
because at this point I'd started to pour in a fair chunk of fire into Morty, and I think I had him down to something
He
like
went
two.
down to like 3 wounds.
Yeah, he was quite,
He was
but
clinging on.
that was then pretty rough in itself because then at that point you've got your horrible strat that dishes out mortal wounds
Yeah.
and like swaps them over. And this has been the second game in a row where I just have to get Bjorn involved maybe a little bit too early than I want him to. So he ran in, charged into Morty, and again that was it. Just couldn't you because he's got like 5 attacks that do decent damage, and I think you saved 4 out of the 5,
Yeah.
something like that. And so, and then another couple of feel no pains. And so he just wasn't. Whereas the game before, he just punched him to death and then you blew up. This time you didn't die, and then you took all the wounds back. So it was, yeah, it was just a tough one to try and get rid of him. But because of that, that second turn scored very low, only scored three, so that really put me behind.
Hmm.
I was like, bearing in mind I was going second, so I thought, okay, as long as I can have a good last couple of turns, we'll be all right. We go into your turn three, you're almost perfect round. You get 8 again on the primary, so not
Yeah.
not maximum, but pretty good. And then you get a tempting target and display of might for your secondary. And at this point, because I'd put so much into trying to get display of my side, there was lots of stuff in the middle to be engaged. You effectively, this was the turn you then got your Terminators out of the Land Raider, adding that additional unit into No Man's Land, and I think you also then put your other squaded Terminators in as well.
Yeah. They deep striked into.
Because I rapid ingressed my Terminators in the backfield to try and cause a bit of a problem there, but there was a what was it? They failed to charge. Well, that was intended. Yeah, they failed the charge and then kind of just they were sitting there for a little bit, so they
Yeah,
weren't quite as effective. But what it meant was you just definitely got that display of might quite handily.
yeah, because then the wolves got hosed away. I
Yeah,
think, and a few other bits got popped here, there, and everywhere, didn't they?
yeah,
So managed to clear you off, which was nice for me.
yeah. And the I was going to say what was the um yeah, I can't remember what an tempting target was. Um, but it wasn't difficult for you to get anyway. So
No, it
that
may
was
have been
that.
the one with because you. I think at that point I had Morty on 2 wounds, with one Thunderwolf cavalry and maybe your Iron Priest left.
Yeah, I think it was
I
that,
must have been able to clear them, at least one of those away.
and I think that was the tempting target because I didn't want to pick like you were already getting the other two anyway, so it
Yeah,
was like that would have been the better one to do. But again, because of that and your board control in the middle, into my turn three, I then once again only scored three on the primary, and I ditched tempting target and display of might
yeah,
because I wasn't going to get any of them, and drew extend battle lines and recover assets. So extend battle lines was fine because I was able to take back. I can't remember which objective it was, but it was, or it might have been the middle and the one on the flank that I then was able to get because I still had all my dreadnoughts alive.
yeah.
And this is a turn where I did pop multi.
Hmm.
And I think at that point you didn't have the CP, or no, you did have the CP, but you didn't want to use it to blow him up
No, because it
because you
was
wanted it for something else.
too much of my stuff was around.
Yeah, so I managed to pop multi, which was good. So that gave me extend battle lines, and then I was also able to recover assets. I can't remember, it was probably the scouts or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. You had your guys in the back did one.
Yeah,
I don't think you got something. You must have had someone start. I think maybe it was your Iron Priest must have still been alive at that point then to do it.
the Iron Priest was there for the entire.
Yeah,
He
so maybe it was him who
survived the
did it.
game. But that was fine. So that was all good from that point of view. So it wasn't a bad round in
No,
that regard. Then we go into your turn four. But again, you had a good one on the primary against 13. So you obviously had your one and two in no man's land, I think, to get 13. And then you had defend stronghold and engage on all fronts. Um, yeah, there was a bit of to and fro because I think you could only get three table quarters for engage,
yeah,
just because of the number of assets that were about. And defend stronghold. The Terminators at some point, I was like, they were there, they could have threatened, maybe they could have done it. But then you also had your Death Shroud in, and so it was like, where should they go? When the Terminators, I pushed them into the Death Shroud because that seemed like the bigger threat. And it turned out that was the case because that's why you wanted to hang on to your CP
yeah,
because you wanted two CP to interrupt, which meant that regardless of what was going to happen, because the Blood Claws had made a charge into the other Death Shroud and the Fun Bus, the Redemptor had made a charge into them. The Ballistus shot shot them effectively. The Predator Annihilator, no, I think the Predator Annihilator was on the other objective and was shooting at the Land Raider. Um, so yeah, there were a few different bits and pieces there, but I had fairly good board presence. Um, but I couldn't kill everything, and then you interrupted. And the trouble with the Wolfguard Terminators, or all loyalist Terminators, I tend to feel, is that especially against the Death Shroud, if they don't get the first hit in, they are not as effective as the Death Shroud are. so that was effectively they did the same sort of thing they did the game before. It took your Death Shroud a couple of turns to chew through them, but they still chewed through
yeah.
them. And that's even like a squad of 10 Terminators going up against a squad of three and a Lord. Um, the free and the Lord can pick them up, even if it just
Mm,
takes them a couple of turns to do it. So as I said, that was yeah. So you got your defend, you got your engage.
yeah,
My turn, I got a bit more on the primary, so I got eight, so it was starting to look a bit better. But I didn't get. I drew bring it down and cleanse, which was a bit of a nightmare because bring it down. was the Land Raider, and I couldn't quite bring it down.
Yep.
And
Close.
then it was close.
It was
I
close.
mean, I got that in my next in your turn because I
Yeah,
held
yeah.
on to it. Um, and then because I needed to pour everything into the Land Raider, I then didn't have anything to cleanse. So um, again, two turns where I didn't score anything on the secondaries is really what put paid to it. Your final turn, you had a good primary score again, getting to 13.
Yep.
So putting you on 42 out of 50 for the primary for the game, so pretty solid. Then you got marked for death and recover assets. And I think you weren't able to do marked for death because I want to say it was Ragnar that survived.
Yeah, it was because it was the blood claws, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
yeah, he hung on. I just couldn't knock him off.
couldn't couldn't kill him. And recover assets you were able to do because I think
Yeah.
you had 4 or something somewhere. Um, so that gave you a finishing score of 80, bang
Yep.
on. And at that point, I was significantly behind, but I had a good
You had an
turn
amazing
5.
last round though.
Yeah, because I was able to max out primary because again I score at the end, so that was fine. Like I was able to get that big primary score, and then because I'd held on to bring it down and did it in your turn, I got bring it down, and then I drew assassination and established locus, and obviously assassination I could get because it had picked up. I think there was another Lord of Contagion that was still knocking around that I was
Yeah.
able to pick up, and then establish because I had scouts in your deployment zone. They were able to establish, and so had a really solid last round, which then gave me a flattering 80 to 62 scoreline that didn't make it seem quite as bad as it could have been.
No, no. That was a big
Um,
call of points.
yeah, as I said, it was definitely all right at the end.
Yeah.
Um, could have been better. Like I said, could have been better. Like looking back at the game now, it was all all the usual sort of stuff. That based on you know a lot of stuff with, as always with games of Warhammer, is can you score your primary, and are you able to do as many of the things as possible, the secondaries,
Yeah.
and in this instance you did have enough to do your secondaries, and as always with Death Guard, because you got like sticky objectives and you're just tough. Once you were on objectives, it was very hard to shift you.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, I just wasn't able to quite get it done and contest them strongly enough, early enough to then make that last turn really count. But it is what it is. We,
Yeah.
you have that sometimes. That's what that is what happens. We'll see whether the list I've got put together for Tuesday will change that in any way.
Mm.
Still be Saga of the Beast Slayer, but which maybe I could do a change in that. But I feel like I should run a Space Wolves one
I
rather.
quite like it. Like if you
I
can
think
get through your sagas a little bit quicker, it's a bit more effective.
I think
Yeah.
it's good. It's good because it gives me lethal hits.
Yeah.
The trouble is lethal hits are only good when you've got good AP to go with it.
Yeah.
So like, and it's things like the blood claws, they're chain swords, AP1. So you've got like a load of weight of dice, like huge amount of weight of dice. If they're going into, like if they're going into um, plague marines, it's fine. They will do the job. They will chop them up. Unfortunately, going into Death Shroud, especially when it's like a 6-man unit, just really hard to work through them. But not to worry. That is what it is. We'll see how that comes out. Um, but that was
That
obviously
was
that was
that. It was
Tuesday. That
that
was
was the game,
Tuesday's
yeah.
game. So that was the highs of Tuesday, and
And
then
that's all
because of
we've got
that,
time for tonight, I'm afraid. I don't feel very well.
I was going to say. So just a bit of background. Like, so on Wednesday, you decided you were going to go back to the Poxwalker, the revolving conveyor belt of shambling
Poxwalkers. Yeah. So
Poxwalkers.
yeah, because the only reason I said before I said I wasn't going to play Virulent Victorum for the rest of the edition. I only did it for that game just to try and meme you and blow up three things and it
Yeah.
didn't pay off. I mean, but we got the win anyway. So I quite liked this list because this is the list I used against you the previous game.
Yep.
So I thought, well, I know that they can handle Space Marines to some capacity, but I don't know. I mean, I'm going to make all my excuses now. I was sleep deprived. I've been at work all day. I don't know what else. Some other lies I can bring up. Honestly, what an awful. So, sometimes you play a game and it's all luck. It's not all luck. There's a skill element to it, but
It
if
is
you
a
have no
dice
luck,
game.
you cannot do it. Right. So anyway, we deployed. What did we play? So Dave had the Godhammer Assault Force, which is basically anything that gets out of a transport. I mean, you can correct me in the chat, Dave, because I'll get it wrong. But basically, things that get out of transports do a lot better than they normally do. I can't remember exactly.
Hang on, I think I can. Oh, it's in the Black Templar one, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
a Black Templar specific.
but I'll
Um,
quickly run through the lists.
yes.
So my Poxwalker list was 6 blobs of 10 Poxwalkers. One of those was being led by a Malignant Plaguecaster. They basically were there to set up my home objective. I had Typhus, a Lord of Contagion, and another Lord of Contagion, all leading 3 Death Shroud, all in Deep Strike. I had Mortarion and a Tallyman. Like I said, the Poxwalkers, and then I had 3 Mephitic Blight Haulers. So already run them out once, had a pretty good, although a close game between the two of us, it was still very good. Dave's list, when I can find it down here.
Yeah.
So he had a Castellan, Grimaldus, Emperor's Champion, Helbrex, and a Marshal. A squad of Crusaders, another squad of Crusaders, a drop pod, an Impulsor, an Inferno squad, a Land Raider, a Redemptor Dreadnought, a Repulsor Executioner, and 2 squads of Sword Brethren. So pretty nice, punchy units there. And then we played Crucible of Battle, which I think is the diagonal one, and we
Yeah.
did Terraform.
Okay. So classic. Yeah, I'm just looking up Godhammer now. So classic tournament favorite in Terraform. So let's see, the detachment rule for Godhammer. Each time an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army declares a charge, if it disembarked from a transport, after selecting the target of that charge, select one of those targets. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test.
Yep.
And then each time a model in an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army makes a melee attack, if it disembarks from a transport this turn, add 1 to the hit roll, so +1 to hit. So that's what it was. That's effectively what it was running.
Cool. Oh, and the other thing to add is obviously the Poxwalker detachment. In the second, third, and fourth battle round of my command phase, I gained 10 extra Poxwalkers, not part of my 2,000 points, they're just extra. So loads to play with. So then this game fell apart quite quickly. So I got to deploy first.
Yeah.
And I deployed pretty similar to how I would. Poxwalkers everywhere. I was obviously concerned about the drop pod getting to come into
Yeah.
one, so I did a very good job at screening that out. And that was probably the only thing I did well the entire game because by the end of turn 1, so for turn 1, I got Dave went first. He got Overwhelming Force and Secure No Man's Land. And as I've learned a long time ago, even though Poxwalkers can infiltrate, just keep them off of the objectives. So when someone
Yeah.
gets Overwhelming Force, you don't die. And that's the only thing that stopped me probably the only thing that stopped Dave getting like a perfect game, basically,
Right.
because he didn't get to get Overwhelming Force because nothing was on an objective, but he did secure No Man's Land by coming at me. But he killed 30 Poxwalkers that turn.
Okay. So
So
big
that
body
was
count.
brutal. And then I got overwhelming force myself, but because of um, not being in position to kill anything, and also I think he moved off of uh, objectives because of Black Templar shenanigans. I didn't get overwhelming force, and then the only other thing I got was engage on all fronts. But because he managed to wipe out my screening units of Poxwalkers, I was just stuck. So I
Yeah.
got one. We ended round one, 5 points to 1 point. Uh,
Okay.
so bit nothing too crazy. So turn two, Dave got 8 points for the primary, and he drew Mark for Death and Recover Assets. Luckily, at this point, I had things hidden, so he picked his gamma target and killed that, and then he had Recover Assets in the middle and his home.
Yeah.
I must have killed at least one more squad of Poxwalkers, and I can't quite remember. It was all a blur, but he was definitely coming down on my home objective by that point. So
Had he
my
got
turn,
the drop pod coming yet?
the drop pod, I think it did come in, but the drop pod came in bang on the center objective.
Right, fine.
Yeah, here you go. So he did get onto my home objective this turn because I didn't score any points for primary because I had a Crusader squad um, get round. I think he must have charged my Blight Hauler that was on my home objective and basically take that off me
Right,
and kill a few of the Poxwalkers that were nearby. So I didn't get any primaries. Then I got Aerial Denial, and there was a drop pod and possibly Hellbrecht
right,
unit on there. So I wasn't getting that. And I got Recover Assets, which I scored for 5 points because I had the Tallyman. I had something in the middle. Maybe it was Poxwalkers. Maybe I can't quite remember. Or a Blight Hauler. And then I deep striked it. No, that's it. So yeah, I dropped in some Poxwalkers in the middle. And I deep striked with a CP some Poxwalkers in his deployment zone. So
right,
5 points there. Then we went into turn three. Dave got 12 points for the primary. He got aerial denial just by existing, and then he got bring it down, which again, this may have been the turn Morty died. Oh, I'll tell you what happened as well. This is what really hurt me as well in turn two. So, was it the Emperor's Champion? Dave, you have to remind me. Something charged Morty, and I killed everything bar the character leading them, who
right,
survived one wound. So I couldn't move more. Morty just got stuck. So when I inevitably killed him the next turn, it was too late to do anything.
yeah,
So Morty, yeah, he must have died turn three. So he got I'll bring it down again. My turn. Nothing for the primary because I couldn't reclaim. Um, Burnt Arrow Denial, and then I got Assassination and Bring It Down. I scored 0 points on both of those, so that was a really miserable round. Then we go into Dave's turn four. There's at this point there must have been 60 dead Poxwalkers, a Blight Hauler, and something else. So in this turn, they've got 12 points for the primary. Tempting target didn't matter; he had all three of them. And Display of Might, he got that. He got both of those. Just basically at the end of the command phase
right,
because I had nothing. I had nothing left. I think at this point as well, we went into my turn. I scored 1 point because I managed to get on and terraform something at the end of the turn. I dropped in all three squads of Terminators, but he was just in a position where I couldn't go anywhere I wanted to go.
right,
So I couldn't get anywhere in cover that was beneficial to me. So I think I ended up dropping Typhus and a squad and one of the Lord of Contagion squads up on his home objective, just so I could get in there and then try a charge. And then I dropped the other one. Oh, that's how I dropped the other one onto an objective to try and get into his land raider and kill that. One charge was successful onto his home objective, and I killed out the guy, the Inferno. I think there were Infernus Marines on there.
yeah.
All the other charges went exactly how you'd expect. Didn't get in.
These were just 6 inch as well
No, I think some of them might have not even been nine because I didn't have
because you didn't have anything
anything was in
spread.
contagion. So so I was properly like in Shitsville.
Yeah.
But I did bring it down. I can't. I can't remember what I killed. Maybe it was a dreadnought. I can't quite remember. Yeah, I've blanked this game from my memory. But then we're going to the last term. 12 points for Dave for Terraform. No prisoners. He got the full sweep and extend battle lines again. He just had that. So he scored at the end of that 91 points. And then this was probably my big turn because I scored 5 points on the primary because I held uh, one.
Yeah.
Then I got rid of Assassinate. I drew Secure No Man's Land and Display of Might, and I got Secure No Man's Land because I held one objective in No Man's Land because I had the only model left was a Lord of Contagion. Dave had to battle shock his Land Raider and fail that, and then I could have charged the Land Raider, but I just felt if something else overwatched me and killed me, or was it a Dreadnought? Sorry, Dave, it might have been Dreadnought. If I charged it and tried to kill it, then got overwatched, then I wouldn't have scored those really, really crucial 2 points. So that was it. I finished with one model on the table and 28 points to Dave's 91. And I don't know what happened. I couldn't save anything. Like sometimes the dice don't want to play. I couldn't save anything. I couldn't get a charge off. And Dave absolutely run a train around me.
I mean, it sounded like the Black Templars did what Black Templars should do narratively, right? And that's
Yeah.
go in, charge, cause all sorts of grief, and just be relatively aggressive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if it comes off, especially against the like because he's then killing all of your units that are
The contagion. Yeah.
putting out contagion, you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
And that's it. It was just he was just by that point, and he was so far into my back line, like turn one, turn two, when it come around to dropping Death Shroud him, I couldn't even get him in to like defend my home objective because they would
Yeah,
have ended up coming off the objective. And if I failed that 9-inch charge, that's a waste of Terminators. But it turns
yeah,
out I wasted everything. It was awful.
yeah. It does, as I said, it does sound like going from like a list that seemed quite narrative and like that conveyor belt of shambling
Yeah,
undead to like not really doing much because losing 30 of them in one turn, they're not, I mean, they're not hard to kill, right? Like that's the
no,
thing is, but if you can't make your feel no pains with the poxwalkers, then that's it, right?
yeah,
You're gonna
and that's
lose
it.
them quite quickly.
And this is the thing because he was some of the stuff that was coming into Poxwalkers when it's damage two, it makes you feel no pains even less likely.
Yeah,
You always manage to, like if you're wiping 10, you always get one like most of the time, which I did. But then there was just so many attacks coming through,
yeah,
it didn't matter. So it was just brutal. And like you
yeah.
say, if you can't save them, you can't save them.
No, 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 and that's it. They then yeah, they disappear.
Yeah. So I don't know. But I've got potentially 4 games lined up this week.
But so okay, so we're on for Tuesday.
Yeah. So
Uh,
tomorrow I've got someone that I met down the club coming over to play some floor hammer,
right, nice.
which is all set up with the new terrain. I'll show you. Hopefully you can see it. I finally got me a fold up terrain.
Oh yeah, very nice.
So
What's the so the under the matting stuff?
yeah,
Is that's just footprint, right?
yeah, that's the footprint.
Nice, very good.
Yeah. So it's very nice. So that's all set up. So I think he plays Eldar, so it'll be an Eldar battle.
Okay, interesting.
So I need to. I'm probably going to run the Poxwalkers again, just
Yeah,
because I'm doing. Although I didn't enjoy that that game on Wednesday, I do enjoy the list. So that's probably what I'm going to use tomorrow.
right.
Uh, then obviously we've got a game here on Tuesday, so I'll have a little think about what list we're going to run there.
Yeah,
And then another guy that me and Dave used to work with has just got some world eaters and he wants to
right.
run them out. So he's going to come over and play that. and then I think I'm going to the club on Wednesday evening to play Dave's son and probably get wrecked by his orcs again.
Ah, right. This is
Yeah,
the orcs.
yeah,
So yes, well, that will be interesting. They're
yeah,
they're well, it leads us nicely onto well, both bits of this segue nicely into what's come out, what's been released, what's
mm,
going on with Games Workshop this week. And of course, one of the things that got announced. So originally was like right at the start of the week. So if we go back to the 20th, we had the Chaplain with jump pack revealed. To
yeah,
be honest, I thought he'd already been revealed, but he hadn't, and he'd just been revealed on. I think it was on the Monday, on the 20th. That might have been the Tuesday. Um, it it's all right. Like to jump back Chaplain. Like cool. Like if you run like Dave might like it for his Black Templars. Like if you run jump pack intercessors, Stern Guard, I guess, or no, whatever the Vanguard vets, should I say?
yeah,
And you want a chaplain to lead them, I think that's fair enough. Won't be something that I pick up, but that's just because there isn't a Space Wolves flavor. It would have to be a Wolf Priest in jump pack, which would be cool if they did it, but very unlikely.
mm,
So that was right at the start. But then they then dropped on the 21st, so this would have been the Wednesday, I think, the Speedwar. So the two new
yeah,
Orc detachments, which if anyone, for anyone that follows other YouTube Warhammer, the tabletop tactics battle report that came out this week, I think it was on Saturday, was featuring it was Orcs versus Imperial Guard, so well worth a look, but using the new Speedwild detachment and the new character, and then also using the new Guard detachment as well. And so lots of silly stuff going on in that regard. But obviously, yeah, so you got the Speedwar was one of them, which looks fair. Yeah, that was that one. So that looks fairly good. So the Speedwar one is
that's
uh,
mental. Yeah,
detachment moves turbo boosters. Yeah, so each time a Speed Freaks or truck unit advances, it can use a turbo. If it does, don't make an advance roll for it. Instead, until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a move characteristic of 24 inches, but can only move in one straight line. And until the end of the turn, ranged weapons equipped by those models have the assault ability, but you can't declare a charge.
yeah,
But you could, like, like that's like that's pretty powerful.
yeah. Then you can be across the board in no time.
You get find a firing lane and you just go, right, I'm moving 24 inches. Like
Yeah,
that's terrifying. Um, so well, it's certainly interesting to see what comes off the back of it. But and then the other bit that's quite interesting that then comes with an enhancement, the ones that they previewed, was that if you've got the Death Killer War Trike, which I suppose you would do if you're running a speed war,
yeah,
you put this on that war trike, and then when it does use its turbo, it can move through terrain features.
yeah.
So not only are you going 24 inches in a straight line, you can just doesn't matter what's in front of you, you're just going. So
It'll be
that's
right in your face.
yeah, that's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the Blitz Brigade. So each time an Orc unit from your army disembarks from a transport, until the end of the turn, you can re-roll advance and charge rolls made for that Orc unit. So just nasty stuff.
Mm.
Real nasty looking detachments there for the Orcs. And I think they're, with the new data sheet for What's His Chops, the new Orc character.
Oh, where's Daka?
Yeah, I think that's quite a nice, fun narrative detachment to be going at. I think you'd have a lot of fun with that. Yeah, we'll have to see. So that's quite nice in that regard. And then the other one was, oh, of course, you can't obviously get a new update without then also getting some new Space Marine detachments. So the I've got some, but we'll give the Space Marines some as well because we don't quite have enough.
Yeah.
So there were two, again, quite thematic. They're quite cool ones. And to begin with, I wasn't sure whether David run one of these when you were telling me about what the detachment was, but no, it's not quite the same. So Headhunter Task Force was one of them, and this one, so it's quite fun in that you get to make some of your units. You get to give some of your units the tank ace keyword when you're mustering your army, and then it's the rule is that each time a tank ace unit from your army advances, don't make an advance roll for it. Instead, it moves 6 inches. And each time a tank ace unit from your army shoots in your shooting phase, if that unit did not advance, you can re-roll the damage roll. So pretty nasty. As I said, the and how it works is the Adeptus Astartes vehicles units in your army, excluding fortifications, drop pods, and walkers, and anyone that has fly, not really it, they get the tank ace keyword. So that's land raiders, that's your executioners, that's your predators, it's any of the tanks basically. And then you can select up to 3 tank ace units in your army and give them the character keyword.
Oh,
So
so
that
that gives them
it means they can then take the enhancements, which is
uh,
what you want to do then. So then on top of the detachment rule, you're then able to give them enhancements. Um, and that makes them one of them is was it redoubtable machine spirit. So you get a 5 up invuln, and then at the end of every command phase you get a wound back. Um,
that's pretty nice.
it's pretty nasty. Like it's a pretty good one. Plenty of scope for broken interactions. And then the other one was an armored spear tip. So this one is each time Space Marines unit from your army disembarks from a transport that made a normal or advanced move this phase, that disembarked unit can make a normal move of up to D6 or a normal move of up to D3 plus 3 instead if that transport is a heavy transport. And a heavy transport is something that is 14 wounds or above.
Okay.
So land raiders,
Yeah.
effectively, you've got your land raider that's bombing along, makes its big move. The unit inside, obviously, because of the assault ramp, can get out, so disembark, can make a move of D3 plus 3, and then charge.
That's disgusting.
Like there's a lot of play there, and that's making land raiders even better than they already are.
Yeah.
Like that is a really good
That's
land
a
raider.
hell of a lot of move, especially as well, like with you setting up when you get out, your disembark setup is about 3 inches as well.
Well, yeah, it's got to be
You're
within,
getting a
yeah,
long way, ain't you? And then a charge. Gross.
yeah. And then you get the enhancement as well. So you get an enhancement that you can put on a Starty's model. If you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase and the bearer's unit or any heavy transports it is embarked within is within range of that objective marker remains under your control until your opponent's level of control over that objective marker is greater than yours. So sticky effectively.
So you can stick in an objective, catapult across the field, drop some sort of Terminator nonsense out the other end, and wreck the thing that was coming to take that off you in the first place.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gross.
So that they're pretty. I think they're pretty punchy.
That's cool.
They're
Mm.
quite good for that. And then that goes hand in hand with. So in the same day that they did the, sorry, I missed this one. Same day they did the Chaplain, they also did the Imperial Guard one, which was the one that showed off in the tabletop tactics game yesterday. Was what was it? So it's armored detachment. So the detachment armored infantry, squadron command. So you add squadrons to the list of units each officer unit from your army can issue orders to, and then add the order below to that listed in the orders you can give out. And the order is called On My Signal. And basically, each time an enemy unit enters a normal or advanced move in 9, this unit can make a normal move of up to D6. That's if it's a skirmisher, armored skirmisher unit. So that's that one. And then the other one, which I think is a bit more interesting, or that was the one that was played on the battle report, was the detachment. It's called Steel Hammer. So each time an Astra Militarum Titanic or Astra Militarum Squadron unit from your army is selected to shoot, models in that unit can target enemy units within engagement range of that unit, including blast weapons,
Okay.
provided no other friendly units are also within engagement range of that enemy unit. When doing so, such models do not suffer the penalty with their hit rolls for being within engagement range of one or more enemy units, excluding attacks made with indirect fire weapons. So
Okay.
what this means is if you've got your super heavy Bane Blade or whatever it is, um, and you're in combat, because that used to be the way that you'd take it out, right? You'd get it into combat and then it can't do anything because all it's got is loads of big guns that can't fire into combat.
Yeah.
Now it's shooting them all into combat because it ignores whether it's got blast or not. It just doesn't care. Like, you know, that makes some of those Titanic tanks like real nasty.
Yeah,
But
that's
even
awesome.
those that like even like your Rogel Dawns and your Lehman Russes now also are super nasty in that detachment. So they've got a lot of good stuff in this Armageddon round of updates. What we didn't get anything else for the, as I said, we got the Chaplain, but we didn't get anything else for new 40k.
No, this is
Um,
very much a ramp up for the big finale, isn't it?
yeah, because it's also going along with like the last narrative update as well. Um, so that was Auspex Tactics did a review of it, where there was a little bit of narrative movement forward. There's a spoiler alert in there, so
Yeah.
I won't give that away. But quite interesting from that point of view. But just talking about Yarick and his defense of Armageddon, what's actually happening there, which characters are in play, which sounds quite cool. So we'll see what happens there. But it might mean that now that they've done this for this week, we switch back to new 40k from next week. See what else they come out of because we haven't had any updates on any of the other turns really. So we had obviously the charging and combat, but we haven't really had anything in terms of shooting, movement, psychic, anything
Yeah.
like that. We'll see though. Like as I said, there's no movement. I don't think no one really that interested. The biggest shake up to the movement phase we had this edition was when they introduced pivots, and that didn't come with the launch of it. They just put it out
Yeah, that was the
midway
whole
through,
time,
and we're
wasn't it?
like, you know, now you got to pay to turn.
Yeah, I mean, just make the vehicle's movement shorter, I guess. Take that bit of nonsense out.
I think it's like it's been the how for whatever reason, however they did it or why they decided to do it that way, it's because they were trying to move from like an old Hammer world where you had units that didn't have bases.
Mm,
So the Defiler never used to come on a base. Like you didn't have to
yeah,
have it on a base. Still see a lot of people now that have the model without the base. Some of the tanks, like the Impulsors and the Executioners and all those, the hover tanks, they come with a base, but a lot of people don't put them on the base
yeah,
because you just use the hull itself. Like so there was lots of these models that were and weren't on bases, and I think it was their move to try and be like, you know, encourage more um uniform rules where you can't like use the hull of your vehicle for movement benefits, and that's where they're trying to get the pivot in, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But you know, we'll have to see how that works out, like because it, you know, I can't see them changing it now, but you never know. I didn't see them changing it in the first place, right? I didn't see them actually releasing a pivot move, and they
No.
did. So
Yeah.
maybe they will take it back. We'll see. But it will be interesting to see what there is, if there is anything changing for the shooting phase. I know we know that cover, obviously the nature of cover is going to change, but that was more of a terrain terrain piece as opposed to a shooting phase itself. But we'll see. That'll be quite, we know that's going to be interesting in itself, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Hopefully
minus.
we'll get some big. We should start getting some big updates because we ain't got that long, have we?
No, we're going to be next week. We're in May.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And then really, you're only then what? Because they reckon it's going to be what pre-orders mid-May, first or second week.
Oh, really? So
I
yeah,
think.
surely we're gonna. I reckon this maybe this time next week we won't have time to talk about all the games I'm going to lose. We'll be too busy going through what's in the box and what rules.
Yeah, I mean, never know. It might not be next week, but it will be soon.
Yeah. Well, if I have a good couple of games, then it can wait a week.
Yes, well,
Otherwise,
indeed.
I might call in sick next week.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we'll have plenty of what four at least four games to talk about
Yeah.
next Sunday, and we'll see how they've gone. We'll
Mm.
see how they go against the Orcs. That will be interesting in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Jensen's still watching. What detachment are you taking just so I can do my homework? I've
No,
got to do some
I don't know if
Googling.
he's gonna. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna tell you.
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah, he will not allow this.
Coward.
Very good, very good. No, staying smart. No, don't want to build lists ahead of time, right?
No, no. Ugh. Okay,
Anyway,
fairly then.
cool. I think that's probably about it for the
A
week.
lovely hour. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
All right.
So hopefully Glenn will be here next week to tell us what he's done, what he hasn't done, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
A few games to talk about, and hopefully some more 11th edition goodness.
See what comes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for terrorizing me in the chat, and we'll see you next week.
Will do. Bye. There we go. All right. Good. Uh, oh,